Buenos dias, everybody, and aloha from here in the North Shore of Oahu, Hawaii. And I wanted to share a quick video because it's been about a week or so. I've been moving and grooving and exercising my rights as a free, liberated soul on planet Earth. Yeah, it felt really nice to get here. For those of you who may or may not know, I used to live on Oahu for almost a decade. And it was a big part of my dharmic path. My soul's purpose was coming here because I needed to choose a school to graduate from, and it was either going to be somewhere in Los Angeles or somewhere in Hawaii. And I was like, you know what? It's going to be Hawaii because I love to surf, and it's always been a dream of mine to come to the North Shore and spend a season here, and who knows how long it'll be. But today I just wanted to share a reflection. I was having a conversation with a friend, and in confidentiality, keep his name confidential, but just wanted to share some reflections because, he was sharing that a lot of times there have been instances where, he'll be in a conversation and then suddenly something will come up where he's saying something that maybe he wasn't intending on saying. And it was like, and he's kind of being analytical and thinking about like, why is this happening to me? Why am I, why am I saying things that aren't in alignment with what's truly, what I truly want to say? And so my response was along the lines of, as we begin to expand our soul's quest to deepening our understanding of who we are, what is our true nature, what are we here to do, what is our purpose on this planet, as we start to embark on that journey, we become more metacognitive, more self-aware, more aware that we are awareness itself. And as we become more aware, we start to become we start to become more aware of those unconscious programs and those neural pathways, those old ways of being that have, held us into a certain identity, like a crystallized version of who we think we are. And we are living, embodied, liquid crystals. Our bodies are liquid crystalline superconductors. We actually have crystals inside of ourselves. Even our cerebral spinal fluid, our in our spine is actually salt water, and that salt water is a liquid crystalline superconductor that leads all the way up to our pineal gland, which is our third eye, which is a gland in the endocrine system that's covered in salt crystals. So we have these little crystals in our eyeballs that we have the ability to see through and to perceive reality and tune in to light, which is almost like a vibratory crystal. And even in the quantum field, the field of energy that is all around us, there are these standing waves of vibration that are waiting to be tuned into. And so as we start to become more aware of ourselves and who we are and our powers, a lot of times we'll be, talking and we might go unconscious and we might say something that we don't want to say. And that's okay. When we go unconscious, Eckhart Tolle says that we spend 90 to 95% of our life in unconscious thought. And so, the more that we're waking up, the more we're catching ourselves going unconscious, whereas before, if you were living unconsciously and you were not woke, you were not awake, you were not on the path of waking up, then you might have the experience of like not actually knowing that you're out of alignment. You might not know that, things are like, why is my digestion bad? Why am I having headaches? Why are my relationships not working out? You have no idea what's going on, and you wouldn't even know. You wouldn't even know that you're out of alignment until you start getting in alignment, right? And then once you start getting aligned with your soul, once you start really reflecting on how do you want to show up in the world and what do you want to create, what do you love to spend your time creating, what do you love to invest your money and your energy into that lights you up, that sparks that fire inside of your soul. Once you start experiencing that, you taste the nectar of your dream, right? Like once you start to experience that, then you start to see when you go unconscious, you're like, oh, shift, like I actually don't want to live that anymore. And sometimes those moments where we fall back to the old self and then we wake up and we're like, whoa, those awakening moments are the moments, and I told him that those are the moments when we catch ourselves going unconscious. We come back to our mantras, we come back to our affirmations, and we come back to our incantations. The incantation is the embodied movement of saying, I am powerful, right? I am in alignment. I am in the flow. I am the flow, right? And we come back to those affirmations. And if you're new to the group, you may not know that we have a list of affirmations down below that we spent an entire week going deep into our affirmations. And so this is a good opportunity for you to practice those, get embodied, activate the neurophysiological architecture of those affirmations, really feeling the energy of those intentions, those inner tension that you want to create and that you want to generate inside of yourself, and become a generative source of your affirmations. Become a generative source of joy. Become a generative source of abundance. Become a generative source of inspiration. In spirit. Let that spirit be birthed from you. And this is actually something that needs to be conditioned and practiced and exercised in a similar way that we would exercise at the gym, or go surfing, or do whatever your daily yoga practice, whatever you may do. It's like we do that, and sometimes it feels a little uncomfortable, right? Like sometimes when you first wake up in the morning, you're like, man, I don't want to do yoga right now. I'm like all stiff and tired and this and that. But you say, you know what? No, I'm raising my energy this morning. I am curating my bioenergetic matrix to the vibration of the future that I want to create. I am tuning my body as a bioenergetic matrix as an instrument to channel in to the vibration of my future, of my desire. And I'm going to stay in alignment with that if it's the last thing I do. And then you do it, right? And you got to have that level of desire, right? We have to be vigorous about our approach. We have to really want it. We have to really want it. And it has to be, the joy of getting it has to be equivalent to the pain of going back to the old self. We have to really associate the pain of the old self. We have to remember like how shitty that was when I said all those mean things, and when I acted out of alignment, and when I wasn't feeling it. I have to really and not saying that you need to embody those affirmations too, but you kind of do in order to scare your subconscious mind into waking up. Right? We don't want to fall back and stay there. We want to be perpetually falling forward into more love, right? Into more joy, into more creation, and train ourselves to not fall back, but to fall forward. And so, and maybe not even fall. I mean, we could just gracefully ascend. How about that? So then I was responding to him that, it was interesting that there were some words that he said. He was meaning to say one word, but he said a different word. And I looked at those two words, and I noticed that those two words have different and opposite meanings. And sometimes when we're talking, or when we're engaging, and when we have been conscious, but then we start talking, we maybe go unconscious, we start to notice the way that we're speaking. We start to notice the way that we're engaging with people. And sometimes it's not fully whoa, why, someone might say, hey, how are you doing today? And you might say, I'm all right. Oh, I'm doing all right. I'm okay. Or oh, another day, right? Versus, it's another day. It's just another day. What is your tonality? What is the vibration of your tone in which you're speaking into existence? And this is really an opportunity to begin the practice of singing your affirmations into reality, singing your intentions into reality rather than just speaking them. I am happy. I am love. I am this. I am filled with joy. I am filled with possibility. Right now, in this moment, all of my dreams are manifesting at the speed of light. Now, these are things that I like to sing about personally. I mean, some people think it's weird, but the thing is, you gotta wash your brain. You gotta brainwash yourself to really believe this stuff. And I mean, seriously, you guys, I've been doing affirmations for probably 15 years now. 15, 16, 17 years now. And honestly, in the beginning, it felt like fake it till you... In the beginning, it was that doesn't work. That's stupid. Then it was okay, you got to fake it till you make it. Then it was okay, I made it, but you got to keep making it, right? You just got to keep making shift happen inside of your body and your mind, inside of your consciousness, and inside of your subconsciousness, the mind inside of your body. We had to keep turning on those emotions and activating those new genes and rebuilding and reestablishing those unconscious tendencies so that as you begin to practice, you become the practice. You are the practice. That's why we practice. That is why we do our sacred act of our morning meditation. That's why we do our healthy eating and buying organic food. That's why we're practicing living our dream life. And so the last thing that I want to share is that one of the things that I told him was that it doesn't matter what you said, it doesn't matter what you did. What happened for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. That's definitely one of my foundational understandings of life. And I know, and sometimes it feels like, or ugh. We get these like, it doesn't feel good. But like, are we going to hold on to that emotion, or are we going to lovingly accept every aspect about ourselves, including the shadow? Eckhart Tolle says that the three things we need to be doing in order to stay conscious: acceptance, joy, and enthusiasm. Acceptance, joy, and enthusiasm. And when we become enthused, that becomes we are in the spirit of God. Enthusiasm. So I hope that this resonates. I hope that this turns you on in some way, shape, or form, turns on your higher self, activates that latent neural architecture, vibrational instrument that you are, to tap back into that cellular expression of your higher self. And I'm just doing that here in Hawaii right now. So it feels good to be back. Feels good to be back here in the Quantum Creators Group. I promise that I'm going to be doing more videos, but I also have so many other dream projects that I'm so excited to work on and excited to share it with you guys too. And if you have any requests of videos or topics that you would like me to dive into, I would love to co-create that with you. And also just encouraging anyone here that feels compelled to, make a video. Let this be a platform for you to share your message, to share your intentions, to share your visions, and what are you working on? What are you learning through right now? Because one of the most important things that we can do for all y'all content creators out there is to share what you're learning. Share what you are learning about, and share what you're growing through. What is your leading edge? What is your biggest aspect of your growth right now? And where are you at? The birds here are wild. We got chickens. We got all kinds of wild little creatures, and they wake me up every morning at 6 o'clock. And I love them for it. But for real, use this group. I want to see people sharing their intentions here and talking about what are you manifesting and how are you manifesting it? Because there are so many different approaches to manifesting our reality. And the beautiful thing is that when you hear somebody share how they manifested their reality or a miracle in their life, when you hear that story, when you hear them say it, that actually, it's called mirror neurons. We have the ability to receive that information and then imagine what it would be like for us to do that. And we're actually stimulating that latent neural pathway inside of our body, that latent neural expression. We're starting to fire and wire a new neural synaptic network inside of our body and mind when we hear people share how they're manifesting the reality. So use this space. Utilize this group. This is the Quantum Creators. These are people who are on the path to waking up to the reality that we are quantum computers. We are living, liquid, crystalline superconductors of energy swimming in a vibratory ocean of light and energy, and we are the instruments through which Source is becoming aware of itself through. We are those vessels. And Source is so gracefully and beautifully expressing itself as us, and we have the ability to become the muse, right? We are the muse for Source to express itself. Isn't that cool? We are its muse. He's it. He and she, all of it, all the genders, all the religions, all the vibration. It's all it. It's all God. It's all Source. It's all Dharma. It's all Brahman, right? It's all Krishna. It's all Buddha. It's all, we are all the descended masters on the path of mastery. We are the descended masters on the path of mastery. And the more conscious that we become of our old programs, the more we become aware of the lessons that we are here to learn. The more that we start to do that inquisition of listening in to our intuition and letting it guide us through the darkness of our subconscious, through the darkness of our history, through the darkness of our family and our ancestry. And as we start to guide and start to collect data as supercomputers, we begin to create a new vision. We start to tap into a new possibility of what Source is calling us to do in this life. Aloha, Rochelle. She says it's all Shakti, it's all Shiva. Yeah. And so as we begin to listen in to those dark areas, do we listen into our triggers? Use our triggers as a technology. Trigger tech. We use our triggers as a technology to identify where is our leading edge. What feels uncomfortable for us? What feels not so good for us? What is it? And can we sit with that for a minute? And just be there with that and just love it unconditionally. Right? And not be attached to what we think things should be like, what we think life should be like, but rather to love every aspect of our shadow. And this is the last thing I'm going to share. And I told him, I said that as you begin to go down this journey of waking up and staying woke, of becoming aware of those unconscious beliefs and starting to transmute those through doing the breath work, through doing the meditation, through doing the incantations, through doing the rightful action, through doing the sacred service, through having our coming together with like minds to have that fellowship and high conversation, high vibrational conversation, and eating the good nutrient medicine. As we start to live and practice the depth of that practice of living in alignment, what happens is that we no longer need to judge ourselves because we're out of alignment, or like we say something wrong because we're acting in out of alignment, because we're practicing all the time. We are the practice. We become the practice. And suddenly, as quantum creators, we are creating from the field that we are attuning to, meaning that no longer are we reliving the karmic loop of samsara, the Maya, the illusion. We're no longer living in the loop of the voice in our heads and saying, "Oh, I am my problems. I am my pain. I am my suffering. I am my story. I am my loneliness. I am my depression. I am my whatever it is." Like, no longer, because we are the practice. We are the living practice. And suddenly, we start to tap into that vibratory field, and we start to live into that field. And that field becomes activated because that field is a neural network. That field is a neural network on the outside, in a similar way that you would look at the planet, and when you look at the Earth and you see all the lightning bolts, just like 2,000 lightning bolts every second or every minute around the entire planet. Did you know that? So that thing's just going. It's like this massive neural network, and we're like these little neurons. We're like these little, like just these little messenger particles that are just going around and creating new neural networks and creating new systems and it's fascinating. So as we begin to live into that practice and we start to tap into that energetic field, we start to live and activate that new field of our awareness. And maybe nothing changes on the outside, but it all changes on the inside. And because of that, your entire outer reality shifts. And you start to show up differently. You start to act out of alignment rather than acting out of trying or forcing or coercion or manipulation, but rather you're manipulating your inner reality. You're manipulating your inner energetic vibration, your vibration and your bioenergetic matrix. You're really tuning it in, like, because of the practice. And so as you do that, you start to walk into life effortlessly. You start to walk through life with no resistance anymore. There's no doubt. There's no, like, you just unconditionally love and accept all that you are, because you know that you're doing the practice. You know that you're doing the work. You know that you're showing up in the best way that you can. And as you do that, and as you start to come into the embodied state of self-love, rather than needing to say the affirmation, right? Because I love myself. Yes, I love myself. Oh my God, I love myself so much. But like, as soon as we like actually sink in to the embodied state of self-love, and no longer resisting or living in fear or chasing or pursuing, we sink in. We sink in to just the depth of our soul, and everything starts to flow. And then that internal work that you've been doing, that internal architecture that you've been building and constructing, starts to, like a hologram, starts to reflect in your external reality. And it's because you actually created it on the inside. Now you know what it looks like. You know what it looks like, and now you can see it in your external reality. And you know, Eckhart Tolle talks about, I referenced him like multiple times in this talk, that people either are living in heaven or living in hell in their minds. Heaven and hell are in our minds. We can be living in heaven or we can be living in hell. And it's up to you to choose which reality you want to imbue, which reality you want to subdue, and which reality you want to live through. And so as you do what you do and you stay in alignment, then I pray that all of the resources that you need to fulfill your Dharma will fall into place effortlessly with ease, and that you will find all of the right resources and partners and strategic alliances, all of the learning and the lessons and the books, and all of those trigger technologies will show up at the perfect time, and we will no longer react unconsciously to our triggers, but rather to breathe with it, to sit with it, to love it unconditionally, and then ask, what is the lesson inside of this trigger? What is the lesson inside of this darkness? And really utilize that to transmute your consciousness into a higher perception of knowingness, knowing that this is my next homework assignment. Meditate with it. Do medicine with it. Use it as medicine. Sit in that unconscious pain. Sit with that pain. And just breathe into it. And don't avoid it any longer, because the more that we run away from the pendulum, the more it's going to swing back just as hard. Right? This is the separation. We got to come into stillness and oneness with the source of who we are, which is source expressing itself as you, the muse. Much love and aloha. Peace.